Welcome to Stress Mess, a stressless podcast where the chaos is real, the caffeine is strong, and swearing sometimes happens, and that's okay. I'm Samantha Elizabeth, health and wellness coach, chronic overthinker, and proud BFFs to stress itself. Here we're ditching perfection, embracing unfiltered real talk, and making mindset shifts that might just keep us from screaming into the void. Let's get messy. Today's episode is a really special one. I'm joined by Ariana Lum, a graphic designer and children's book author who made a bold life shift, left her corporate job, and moved across the world and created a children's book centered on something we don't talk about nearly enough, helping kids navigate anxiety, grief, imagination, and big emotions. In this conversation, we talk about identity, creativity, childhood joy, and why learning how to sit with your feelings is just as important as math or science. We also explore how imagination, movement, and emotional expression can be powerful tools, not just for kids, but for adults too. If you've ever felt disconnected from yourself, overwhelmed by stress, or unsure on how to support a child through hard emotions, this conversation will really resonate. All right, we had to stop and re-record because we had a messy intro, but that's the Stress Mess podcast. My cat was digging her claws into my toes, so it was not very pleasant. But hello, welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
Thanks for joining me.
Your cat and dog are so cute. I feel like they're like anxiety, like just petting them or being around a pet is so nice. So it's cute just to see the pets because I don't have any pets here. So I love
do you
pets.
want any pets? Are you
Oh,
able
yeah.
to get
Oh
any
my
pets?
gosh. No, I grew up with dogs, cats, rabbits, birds, fish, and I love animals. My mom has 4 dogs. Whenever I go back, I always spend so much time with my dogs. I love dogs so much, and I dream about having a dog, and I'm so excited to have one eventually.
Oh my God. Yeah,
Yeah.
I treat our like the dog and the cat like family, like
Yeah,
the
they
dog is
are
my
family.
son and
Yes.
the cat is actually my grandchild because technically like feel like I always say Grammy, like Grammy, I'm like, wait, I'm a grandma, but it's my son's cat. And so the thing is I always get it kind of confused though. I'm like, I talked to Buddy, my dog, and I'm like, your aunt, no, not your aunt, your niece, like I just like
Wait, is
when
your dog's name Buddy?
yeah, my dog's name is Buddy.
My dog in Hawaii is named Buddy.
Really?
Yes,
Oh
Buddy,
my gosh.
Honey, Alice, and Benny. Yeah, Buddy.
Oh. Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, it's just one
Yeah.
of those things. I call people buddy all the time,
Mhm.
like, hey, buddy, not like in a mean way or anything, but yeah.
Yeah.
And the cat's name is, we call her Catten. It's Catn. But her real name is Daisy Bell, without the
Oh.
E on the end of Bell, because it's a song that my son heard and Daisy Bell. Anyway, it's a good song, I suppose. I heard it a couple of times, but yeah. We just I love them so much, but they like to be on the podcast quite often, as people know if they're ever watching the podcast, that they know that they make appearances because when I'm sitting, they're like, I'm going to come sit with you.
Well,
So,
cats are attracted to laps. So if you're sitting down, the cat is like, "Ooh, I can sit down on you."
yeah, exactly. That's what she does. It's like, but when I'm sitting, I'm like, I'm trying to relax. I'm trying to like do something. I am at my desk and I'm
Mhm.
trying to work. She's constantly just like, oh, hey, since you're there, let me come over and give you some love. That's what that's what I imagine her voice sounds like. But hi, welcome to the podcast again. Um, tell us a little bit about you and what you do, and let's talk a little bit about what I've got in my hand here. And I know you've got one too.
Yeah, okay, I am a graphic designer with, like, 10 years of experience. I left my job literally about a year ago, and partly why I left is because I did move to Portugal. I was living in San Francisco for about 10 years. I got out of a breakup and then I started solo traveling. I went around Europe and like found myself and I just fell in love with Europe. And I'm in Portugal right now. And basically, this past year, I made the decision to work on a children's book, an illustrated children's book. And the reason why I decided to do this was because after I left my job, I did kind of go through like an ego death where I was like I realized that so much of my identity was in my job and my job was kind of like my anchor.
Mm.
So losing it was kind of this huge like change for me and I kind of told myself like what would young Ari want to do? Like what do I love doing? What do I see myself doing for a long time? And when I think about myself when I was younger, I would always draw. I loved anime and I just like to draw like cartoons and dogs and stuff like that. And I also wrote a I wrote the I created the sketches during the pandemic and I made this book. It's for my grandmother because I was always super close to my grandma and I kind of like made the sketches and then I put them away and I totally forgot about them. And then when I lost my job last year, I was like, wait a second, I have these sketches. I want to work on something that's like a difficult project, not just a nice illustration. I don't want to do like a small thing. I want to do something kind of difficult.
Mm.
And I thought a children's book would be good. And I also wanted it to have a really good lesson and a good story. And I've realized because after I finished the book, I started to plan out other book ideas and I like this theme of children like finding peace within themselves, like going within to find comfort or dealing with anxiety or grief. And I realized that I really want to focus on this topic. I've also realized how important it is when I started to do research. Like, their mental health and anxiety is such a huge problem in the world now. And I think making books when children are just learning, like to have a book teaching a child how to meditate or how to deep breathe is just so important, especially when you need to have these tools because it's when you're young that you need to like have these in your back pocket when you're having a bad day and like schools don't teach this stuff. They have math, science, English, but they don't have mental health, dealing with anxiety, how to handle your emotions, or, just, yeah, how to manage daily life because it's so stressful and there's always so much going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say, I mean, because I know a lot of people think, and this is just the way that society has grown up, is that it's the woo-woo stuff, like emotions, feelings, being able to project those feelings in a safe environment. And it always hasn't been that way. I know that a lot of times, governments, when we look at like different countries, they um educate their people a certain way. They
Mhm.
their citizens, educate them a certain way, because they want them to grow up tough. They want them to, grow up resilient. But part of that is getting into the what they consider as the woo woo stuff is figuring out your own emotions and figuring out what does those emotions feel like so you can fully understand them and name them, recognize those emotions, and be able to know how to deal with them, rather than reacting to somebody else that's triggering you or something like that. And it's hard. I wanted to go back to one little thing though, because I think this is something that might help other people. What you said, you talked about going back to your childhood and what made you happy, and
Mhm.
those kind of things. And psychologically, they say that at 8 years old, where you were the most happiest at 8 years old, and hopefully you find something that's happy, that if you're stuck in life, if you're lost, if you can't figure out how to be happy, go back to when you were 8 years old and figure out what made you happy then, and then explore upon that. Um, Obviously, more in an adult way, because obviously, if
Yeah.
you rode around, you know, your funnest thing to do, during that time was riding bikes with your friends. Well, maybe you should pick up cycling again. Maybe
Mhm.
find a cycling club. But it's kind of those things of like figuring out like who you were, and
Mhm.
that's the peak usually, that they say of like of happiness, where you actually found something that will make you
Yeah.
happy, and people abandon that and forget that.
I completely agree, and actually something just came to my mind. When I was young, I used to love climbing trees, and I would always climb the trees in my backyard, and today I am obsessed with aerial silks. And
Oh,
they're different, like, obviously, they're different things, but I feel like there is somewhat of a connection because there's climbing, there's like it's physical.
yep.
I also just got into bouldering, which is very much climbing.
Oh,
So
yeah.
like it doesn't need to be exactly like, oh, if you climb trees as a kid, you should climb trees as an adult. Like you can
Right.
like kind of connect it to something that's more like aerial silks or like
Right.
bouldering. Yeah, or like if you used to color, then you could be a graphic designer or illustrator. Like you're not coloring books as a job, but
Yeah, or
yeah.
even getting one of those adult coloring books and, take it up with that, get yourself some color pencils. I realized
Yeah.
I did that myself, and then I realized, no, I didn't like coloring as a child, like,
Yeah.
at all. So, I got 1 page done of it, and that was it, I'm like, "All right, I'm done with that."
Another thing I really would love to teach children in probably another book is to just use your imagination. And I
Mm,
think adults should do this. And I feel like it's like there's so much going on in our lives with
mm,
TV, social media, there's just everything. And even I mean, I have trouble doing this, but to just sit and zone out or like just sit there and let your imagination like go crazy and
mm.
start dreaming of things or stuff like that. I feel like it's stress relieving and it's it kind of helps with your imagination and your creativity.
Yeah. Yeah, bringing up psychology again, my goodness, I sound like a psychologist. I'm not a psychologist. I just studied a lot of psychology, but
Oh, you studied it. That's
yeah,
yeah.
one of the things that I did learn from there is that they say that like 95% of children actually have great imagination and creativity. There are
Mhm.
some that don't. They just don't and have that gene, I suppose. But they say that after 40 years old, only 2% of people actually have the imagination creativity. They just lose it.
I
And,
think I remember you saying this in another podcast and I was blown away when you said that and it actually made me like I need to make sure I'm always stretching my imagination creativity
yes.
muscle.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I really value like working in corporate. I'm not living. Well, I guess I was living in corporate life too. But
Yeah.
working in corporate life, one of the things that I always valued is good brainstorming session. Like let's throw out
Mhm.
some crazy ideas of how to solve this issue, or let's, do this. And, I love to stand up at the whiteboard and say, give me your idea. And somebody would say, let's have clowns in the office. Well, hold on one second. That might scare people. But, like it would be like people throwing out ideas and trying to tap into hopefully that 2% of the creativity or something, that um, you want to have people continue to do that. And I love that you want to like, do you want to introduce your book now?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I will show you the book. It or do you, we could both put it up at the same time. Okay.
Da 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 da.
Ah,
See, now I've got a what do you call this? Paper copy,
paperback.
paperback. Thank you.
And the only reason why it's paperback is because when I was uploading it to Amazon, they only took um portrait style books for
Oh,
hardcover. Yeah.
oh,
Just so
okay.
in case anyone's curious, they didn't have any landscape options, only portrait size books.
Interesting.
which was kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
Um, I've realized this because I've uploaded my book to like 4 or 5 different, book publishing platforms,
Okay.
and portrait is just way more popular, like, this is more popular, and most children's books, it's like landscape like this.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
interesting that they don't offer
Yeah.
landscape. But, I guess if it's Amazon print, so it's on Amazon, where else can people find it?
You know what? Honestly, I was using Ingram Spark, but I was looking at other sites. Oh, actually, Barnes& and Noble. I have it on Barnes& and Noble. I
Hmm.
can add the links if needed.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll put them in the show
Yeah.
notes. So, for those that are curious about, what this is, A World Within, and of course you wrote this and illustrated it, and you can see, even from the cover here, that it's beautifully illustrated. As Ariana said, it is a children's book, and it has some wonderful imaginations as children do in here. But it also just has a really good message, as you said, about it. And tell us about, like, because I know that you talked about, of course, your last year and wanting to write a book and everything. Tell us about your process, because I think some people are really interested in the process for writing a book, and like, how do you get it to publishing?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like I made so many mistakes,
Oh,
and I feel like, because I also debated on self-publishing or reaching out to literary agents, and I'm really happy that I self-published it because I feel like this is where I got to learn and make mistakes and, um, just figure out, like, my style and everything. But so when I did these sketches, I literally got a piece of paper and I folded it into fourths, and then I did take a lot of time to research environments and backgrounds. I did
yeah.
character studies, and I had those sketches. I just had photos of them in my phone. And I just remember having it and was like, okay, I'm just going to digitize this. So I
Mm.
put it into my Procreate app, which is on the iPad where you can digitally draw. And I just started. Actually, the first thing I did was I actually started to just draw things on, like, with pencil and paper to get my hand used to drawing again, because I
Yeah.
took a break, I wasn't drawing as much. So I think it's so important to just draw things daily to get yourself used to that, and then coloring and texturing is literally an entire another world.
Mm.
Um, and it's so crazy because when you go through the book, I noticed I was improving, and when I was about half when I was almost done, I think I had, like, 6 more pages left, I made the decision to turn my character into an alien, and she was actually a human girl before. They were all humans, but
Yeah.
I decided to redraw all of the characters, and so that took more time. But I think it's so important to just play around, and it's okay to make mistakes, and that's just part of the process.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because this is, about a girl that goes to sleep. She's in a dream, and she's having this dream that helps her to open her eyes up to the grief that she's having. But, we're not going to give too much into it. But, of course, it's dealing with grief, in the book, and helping children to learn about how to deal with grief in their own way. And of course, like, in the imagination of it is that this girl is in a dream world, and
Mhm.
even in, waking hours, or even in the night world and everything, we're not always 100% ourselves when we're daydreaming or we're having dreams. We are ourselves, but we're not quite ourselves, so I do love
Mhm.
how that you leaned into that you just didn't make her as she is, because of course in our dreams we're not always as we are. We're
Yeah.
not ourselves. I mean, I
I
have many dreams sometimes of being like a dancing or singing superstar or something like that. Is
Oh,
definitely not
cool.
me. First of all, I can't dance well and I can't sing well. So, but like in my dreams, that's who I am, like, look at me. I'm on the big stage. But anyway, those sort of things. So yeah.
I
Um,
feel like my inner self is an alien, and I feel like me making my character an alien just reflects me so much more.
mm,
Because even my past illustrations, I would always draw alien girls with blue skin or purple skin, and
yeah.
I don't know, I just like how, like, it's weird and it's, like, otherworldly and everything like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I know I do have a friend that sees herself as a alien as well too. You know, she's just like, I just don't feel like quite like I fit, you know, in society,
Yeah.
which I
I think
think is
No, I was just gonna say, I think that was another message I wanted to convey because I feel like kids probably do feel like aliens. They feel like they don't fit in, and I actually think making my character an alien can help children feel more connected and like they relate to the character more because
yeah.
when you're at this age, you feel so out of place or like you feel like an alien yourself
Yeah.
in a
You're
sense.
trying to figure out how do I fit into this world, you know, who
Yeah.
am I? You know, and then of course, like you get all messed up because of puberty, you know, and just kind of
Yeah.
sets
Oh
you
my
through a
gosh.
tailspin. And then you're like, I don't even know who I am, you know,
Yeah.
like
Oh my gosh, puberty is such a crazy, wild ride.
it is, and I know I had a really tough time in junior high when I was going through
Same.
puberty. I think a lot of
Yeah.
people do, like,
I
that's
I think for girls especially, like, that puberty time, like, I know I was an emotional wreck, and I just got so irritated by everything when I look back at it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I know, I think about it too, and it was I had I got my period late, and
Me
when I
too.
did oh, yeah, and so it was like, I was later than everybody else, and I
Yeah.
pretended like I had it, you know, for a while, even though I didn't, you know,
That's
like,
funny.
"Can I borrow a tampon?" You know, or
Oh
something
my
like that, even
god.
though I didn't need it,
I've
all I
never
was
heard
gonna do is
anyone
that I had
say
a
that.
collection of tampons anyway. But I was late, and yeah, I was, like, once I got my period, I was an emotional wreck, you know, those hormones flooding your body
Mhm.
every single month, and not just once a month, you know, it's like all throughout the month, you know, of the different hormones that flood your body. It was like, yeah, I don't know, my dad likes to tell this story, but I it's like ultra personal. Um when I had my period one time, I have really bad cramps, you know,
Yeah.
with my period. And one night I woke up with really bad cramps and I didn't take medicine in time, and the cramps kind of like took over, and I had jumped into the bath because I thought that would make me feel better, and I was so weak and so much in pain, that I crawled out of the bath onto the bathroom floor, and we had one bathroom in our house, and I fell asleep on the bathroom floor, and my
Oh
dad
my
woke up in the morning to go to the bathroom, and he opened up the door, you know, thinking nobody was up at this time, and there I was just like naked on the bathroom floor.
oh my god,
And
that's
they're
even
like, "What is
crazier.
wrong with you?" And I'm just like, I felt like I was
Oh.
dying, like absolutely dying. And anyway, I don't know, he
I've
loves
had
to tell that
friends like
story.
that. Like, I've actually had friends that went to the emergency room because of the pain.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it
I've
was so bad. I mean, it feels like you die, but then when you get out of it, you feel like you're alive again. You're like,
yeah.
"Oh my gosh, world," and you wanna, like, kiss the you know, like, kiss the floor and all of this kind of stuff because it is so bad. And yeah, I mean, like, some people, and unfortunately, you know, my kiddo has it too, like, really bad.
Mhm.
And it's like, "Oh man, I'm so sorry," you know, I think that a lot of people don't realize how bad that is. But that's going along with childhood emotions, you know, like once
Yeah.
again, you know, of going through that time, you know, according to like Sigmund Freud, from 3 to 5 years old, those are your formidable years. You know, you normally don't remember a lot before then, but you start
Mhm.
to form your memories from 3 to 5. And then 8 years old is your peak. This is where you find your passions, at least the core of your passions. Cause like you said, climbing trees is something that you
Yeah.
love to do. So now you find some things like as an adult as an outlet. But yeah, it's
Mhm.
just hit my mic. Anyway, but it's those kind of things that you do find. So let's go into
Actually,
imagination. Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to quickly,
Please.
mention that, another big lesson in my book that I really wanted to, have is, like, dealing with losing someone, losing a loved one,
Yeah.
because I think when also because people are having children later, I feel like y children will probably have to deal with this at younger ages,
Oof.
and just a big lesson that I wanna teach children is that connection never goes away.
Yeah.
Like, the love that you shared will forever be there, and that connection is special, and like, that's why I wrote it for my grandma because I've always felt connected to my grandmother, and
Yeah.
I felt like when I was traveling by myself and I was alone and I was, like, crying and I'm just like, "Oh my god," like, I love traveling, but I was also, like, emotional and, like, trying to figure out my life and everything. I
Yeah.
felt like my grandma was there with me in spirit, and that's just something I really want kids to know and learn. It's really important.
Yeah, I absolutely. I love
Yeah.
the book The Invisible String. It talks about, how we're all connected, or at least, the love connects us all.
Yeah, we
And
are.
that's one of my favorite books, and I'll have to link it in here, but I did read it on YouTube or something, because I work with a nonprofit about pregnancy loss. And, that's something
Oh.
that I had a friend that was dealing with a lot of pregnancy losses over and over again. And dealing with the pregnancy loss, I know she was talking to me and saying, I really still feel connected to that child, even though that child's gone. And that kind of made me feel like I went through a pregnancy loss as well too, and it was really devastating. And anyway, I bring that up because it is like your book, The Invisible String, and books like that help children to fully understand um, how to deal with grief, because our parents might be messy in that because they didn't grow
Mhm.
up being able to express their emotions and their feelings, with their parents. If we can consider, like, what generation do your parents come from, like if you have a Gen X parent, then that you just need to buck up because, the Gen X parents were pretty much on their own. They were
Mhm.
not the forgotten, were they called the forgotten generation? But anyway, just like
I don't
basically
know.
latchkey kids, and I'm slightly Gen X millennial myself. And so
I'm millennial.
you're millennials, you're
Yeah.
strictly millennial.
Yeah, I'm millennial.
Yeah. So I gotta say that, being in, that but also being like slightly millennial, like I said, I'm in between. I really want my child to open up, about their
Yeah.
feelings and,
I would
do
want
that.
that too, personally. I feel like it's important to be open and honest with your kid. I
Yeah.
think, like, pushing and hiding or helicoptering the kid, I feel like
Right.
is not healthy,
Yeah.
in
I
my
mean, my
opinion.
mom, she hid her feelings from my sister and I. Like she would go into her room, and scream and cry, or, whatever she needed to do. And perhaps maybe I've done this too much in front of my child. Not that I've screamed, in front of my child, but I've certainly cried, because
Yeah.
um I have dealt with a lot of heartbreak,
Mhm.
over the last couple of years especially. And I don't want my child to think that that's not okay to do that. And in fact, actually, until my child was probably like 12 years old, never cried. Like, a
Wow.
commercial would come on. I mean, like, cry, like, fell down and
Like,
hurt yourself,
fully
not like,
yeah.
yeah, with feeling, like, oh my gosh, I have an overwhelming feeling. But now my child cries all the time, and I love it. I mean, not love
Yeah.
it, but,
No, it's
"Oh, you
healthy. It's
cry,
very
kid."
it's, like,
No,
kinda cleansing. People say that they'll cry and they just feel better after. They just, like, got
yeah,
it out of their system, like, they needed to just, like, let it out, and
yeah.
I'm
And that's how
totally
I
an
manage
advocate
stress.
for
Oh,
especially for men. Men should be able to cry. I am such an advocate for men,
me
like,
too. Me
I would
too.
never judge, like, "Come on, like, show your emotions, let's"
Yes, exactly. I feel the exact same way, and I think
Yeah.
that I know that, like, they say, like, "Oh, we're teaching society to be soft." Like, no, we're just trying to teach society how to deal with your emotions in healthy ways, because if you don't cry, I mean, because my stress reliever is definitely crying, um,
Mhm.
and, working out, like, that sort of thing is, my stress reliever, but, um because we make people bottle it up, it's going to come out in other ways. And it could be very, very unhealthy ways for themselves
Yeah,
or for others.
I completely agree. Bottling it up and then blowing up in front of people or like letting your anger out in an unhealthy way is just that's why I think exercise is great. I feel like it's a great way to let out that anger that you might have.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean it's that, and it obviously like very good for your body, to work out as long as you're not working out to the point of injury, but
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
that sort of thing that makes it very healthy, crying and letting it out, that way. I did kickboxing, for a bit too.
Mhm.
I wasn't
And
terribly frustrated.
we're both doing CrossFit. I know.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you've heard of the CrossFit cult? Like what's going on?
Well, yeah, honestly, everyone is so nice. I'm in the chat group and people are so friendly and they like wish each other happy birthday and
Aw.
I don't know, like people will give each other hugs in the morning. So it's and also there's dogs there. People bring their dogs there. They have like a little area for the dogs. So I get my exercise and I get my dog time, which is amazing.
Oh, wow, that's so
Yeah.
cool. I mean, it sounds I know I jokingly said the CrossFit cult because, the thing is that the joke
It
is
is people say it is culty though, and I kind of see it. Like there's just like this whole group, like it's yeah.
yeah. Well,
But it
I
seems healthy in my opinion.
yeah, but like I guess the healthy kind of cult, I suppose.
Yes, exactly, a healthy cult. A very healthy cult, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, and I got it. I mean, obviously the joke is if you're vegan and you do CrossFit, which one do you talk about first, And it's
Oh
like a
my
joke
god,
because
that's
I was a
hilarious.
vegan for a bit, And yeah,
Actu
it becomes a thing, because it's not
yeah.
part of normal society.
Another thing I was actually watching another podcast and it was about health and it was all women talking about it,
Yeah.
and they were really talking about how important it is for women to build muscle, especially as you get older.
Oh, yeah.
And there's like a stigma, like if you get big, like you don't want to be muscular, you want to be
Yep.
skinny. And that's the reason why women fall down and break their hips. And like women need to have muscle. And
Yep.
like I'm lean, but I'm trying to build muscle and I can slowly see it coming. I have to like
Yeah.
eat protein, but it's so important for us flexibility, like, so that we can have and flexibility, balance, and muscle is super important as we get older.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely say, as a health coach, that's something that
Yeah.
I really talk to people a lot is, I know women are like, "Well, I don't wanna look muscular or,
Yeah.
like, bulked up and everything." I'm like, "You're not going to." Like, unless
Mhm.
you're going for bodybuilder, type of diet, with exercise
Mhm.
and everything, but I do teach, women especially, and especially, women, because as we do get older, we start to lose our muscle mass naturally,
Yes.
and I know a lot of people that are on Ozempic or GLP-1s, and that is muscle erosion on
Oh, I
those
didn't even know
particular
that.
drugs. So it not only do you erode your muscle or have less muscle and everything as you get older, if you're not doing anything, of course,
Yeah.
and then you're also in a GLP-1. My gosh, you're going to have basically no muscle, and you're just going to be gelatinous, at that time because you're just a skeleton with fat, and
Oh.
so but that also is, like, counterintuitive to actually losing fat, that what people
Mhm.
want to do. And so, yes, absolutely, eating the pro and I know a lot of people are like, "I eat protein." I'm like, "But do you actually do strength training as well? Because what are you
Yeah.
using that protein for, other than to be fuller longer?" So, I do teach people about, you do need to do strength exercises, and it's just as important as cardio.
Yep.
And, you gotta eat your protein, to be able to build up that muscle, but not build it up to a point where you're just, some bulky she woman, going
And you're
around.
definitely not gonna get bulky, and, like, when I was in my 20s, I never like, I did tiny bits of weight, like, like the 20 pou like, nothing, and
Yeah,
then I just started doing CrossFit, and I'm not bulky at all, like, it's but I feel stronger and I feel better, and it's
yeah.
just it really just it's so good for you to work on your muscle, like, we do the moves where you have the bar and it's, like, behind your back and, like,
Oh, yeah.
stuff
Get
that I
forward.
never thought I would do, like, it's, like, stuff you would think only the guys would do in the gym, and but it's really good, like, I kind of hate it, but I love it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's
Yep.
tough, but I feel so amazing after kind of thing.
Yeah, I gotta
Yeah.
say, I mean, I have a love-hate relationship with working out too because, well, this morning I woke up, I put my workout clothes on right away. I was planning on doing my normal cardio with strength exercise. And I was like, you know what? I'm a little sore today. And I listened to my body and I said, I'm not going to do it today. Tomorrow, I definitely will. And I will. I know I will do it tomorrow. So I'm not one of those people that are like, tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. I'm not
Yeah.
like that at all. I know I definitely will do it, but I do know that's, something that you got to wake up and you got to listen to your body. And then with exercising too, like you might have told yourself, and that's a limited belief, this is exercises for a man, it's not
Mhm.
necessarily for a woman. And so
Yeah.
therefore I shouldn't be doing this exercise. But yeah, you're talking about like a pull down, right?
Like
Type of
a
exercise or
long bar with
yeah.
the things, and you squat and then you go like that. And it's like,
Ah, yeah.
or like it's just, yeah, it's like you see guys do it if you go to the gym kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Or women, don't limit yourself to exercises that you think are a man exercise or something like that. It's definitely
Yeah.
healthy for you. Well,
Yeah.
good. Well, I think that we definitely talked about a lot. I will definitely make sure that you're in the show notes and everything, the link to your book. If you can send me those links, and then that way I can make sure I include them. And then, yeah, I think that the encouragement here, everybody, is that we need to work on child's mental health just to set them up
Yes.
success better in life, right?
Yes, exactly. Because I actually looked this up before. I just wanted to make sure, and the anxiety in children, like children, teens, like I think it was like a child to like age 24, like anxiety is just growing.
Yeah.
And we just need more tools, and we need to actually make it important for especially kids when they're first growing and learning, like so that they know that they have this thing that they can do to manage their stress and anxiety, because it's
Yeah.
just getting worse right now. And it's
Mhm.
really sad to see how like anxiety is just growing so much. And
Mm.
yeah, it's like it's an epidemic, and we need to do something about it. So
Yeah,
yeah, I'm really
definitely.
happy.
Yeah.
Huh?
I love that you call it an epidemic because I think you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. There's that I know with society there's that pendulum swinging, and they say that millennials got too soft, that everybody's like a special snowflake and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And I think it was a swing in the right direction, but perhaps society thought that it went too far. But now we gotta find like a happy medium between, yes, we do need to be tough. We need to
Mhm.
be mentally tough, but in order to build up that kind of toughness, you gotta understand it first. Like
Yeah.
how can you it's the same thing of going back with exercise and everything. How can you effectively build muscle unless you know the form or the moves, right?
Yeah.
Or else you're just going to hurt yourself. And it's the same thing with mental health too. I mean, tying it all back here.
And mental health is so much like exercise. Like it's tough at first. When I first did CrossFit, oh my gosh. And aerial silks, like my body was in so much pain. Like it is like you have to keep doing it just like exercise. And
Yeah.
it's going to be a little bit harder at first. You got to get into the rhythm, and then soon it just it's a lot easier, and it gets easier and easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. All right, everybody. Work on your mental health. Even as an adult, if you're like, oh, I didn't learn that as
Yeah.
a child, I'm good. Please just go out, pick up books that might help you or something like that. Or, even help your children too to understand their world, and their emotions and everything, especially when it comes to grief.
Also, I think adults should read children's books. I actually have started purchasing children's books, and I mean, because I'm a designer, but it's a cute story. You can read it in one sitting, and it's I feel like it should be fine and normal for adults to get children's books and read them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I gotta say, like Dr. Seuss's "Oh, the Places That
Yeah.
You'll
Dr.
Go."
Seuss.
I had just had my child, and I was like, okay, I need to pull back on my career a little bit, obviously, to take care of my child. And I started to feel weird about it because I've been so career driven.
Yeah.
And when I did that and I read that book, I cried so much over that book. But it helps you to understand a little bit more and maybe talk to your inner child that's
Yeah.
hurting.
I
know,
get
because
emotional. I get like teary reading some books, so I totally get it.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. All right. Well, thank you so
Alright.
much. I really appreciate you being on the podcast. Like I said, I'll put everything in the show notes. And
This
thank
was
you.
so fun.
Yeah, I know. Thank you so much. And yeah, good.
All right, thanks.